Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most interesting altcoin plays for December. I'm going to be running you through all the charts that I am currently looking at. There are a few narratives that, despite the quiet market, do have very interesting setups at the moment. And actually, even Bitcoin is starting to make a move to the upside right now, which we are also going to discuss today. So if you want the full scoop on the things to watch for the month of December, you've come to the right place, and hopefully these trade ideas can help set up your portfolio. As usual, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content like this, and do me a favor and smash the like button if you do enjoy watching these videos every day. Yesterday, I did a breakdown on the Perp Dex narrative, and tomorrow I'm going to be coming back with Fabian to do another weekly show with him where we're going to discuss the entire macro outlook as well as some of the altcoin plays that he is looking at. But before we get into some of the specific narratives, and I've got plenty of stuff to discuss with you today, lots of actionable stuff, lots of setups. I've even got a short trade in here as well. December isn't all just about aping alts. There's also potentially overvalued alts you can look at shorting. We're going to discuss all of that stuff and more today. But starting just with Bitcoin here, I just want to give you a little bit of an update on what's happened. Bitcoin actually broke above the key 89K level that we mentioned as a breakout zone of this range yesterday. So that is a good sign. Honestly, this is the most constructive price action we've seen on Bitcoin since the beginning of November. We pretty much haven't been able to string a few days of green together, but now we are starting to get a bit of an uptrend forming. So we came down, we made a low at 81K, we came up, we formed a range high at 89K, consolidated, and then broke out, in the process flipping the H4 money noodle and creating a new weekly high at 92K. We're starting to see a bit of a pullback. I think there could be an interesting trade setup here if we do wick back down into this zone, have a good reaction to the noodle on a retest, and then we can come back up and potentially target the point of control here. You could see on the VWAP, and that also aligns with this cluster here. So very key resistance level for Bitcoin between $94.8 and $96,000. This is the next logical zone for Bitcoin to go, in my opinion, as your next target. So potentially there could be some intra-week swings from this zone into this zone here, but we do have to accept that that is significant resistance until proven otherwise. So that is the level to watch on Bitcoin. The other thing I'll be looking for on the lower time frames is whether Bitcoin can continue its uptrend. So you can see here that we are making higher lows, and we're also at the same time making higher highs. This is a new uptrend for Bitcoin. I want to keep tracking this on the lower time frames, and this will basically be my risk gauge in terms of my propensity to take on risk in the short term. Remember, this is just my short-term bias, because from a macro perspective, there still are a lot of headwinds for Bitcoin and a lot of overhead resistance. You would want to see some of these headwinds from a fundamental point of view starting to clear. So the OG whales that were selling, you want to start to see them either become net accumulators or see the signs that they're not selling anymore. You want to see ETF flow starting to improve again. So there are still macro things that need to clear for Bitcoin, I think, to make a full reversal. But this is how reversals start, and this looks good, but I'm going to be tracking it on the lower time frame. So as long as we hold above this level on dips, open to looking at plays and alts. And of course, we're going to discuss a lot of those plays today, but I really just am tracking the trend really closely at the moment. Some of the reasons why Bitcoin has started this mini reversal here is because, of course, we have a higher probability now of getting a rate cut in the next meeting on the 10th of December. It now has an 85% probability on the CME Group website. We also saw equities, so the NASDAQ in front of you, responding well to this news as well. So equities continue to look pretty strong, stronger than crypto actually, and this is one of the things that is still holding the market intact from a macro point of view. And if you watch my video with Jason a couple of days ago, this is one of the things that I think is going to hold the cycle still in good stead into 2026. We just may see a scenario where Bitcoin potentially underperforms, but we'll need to keep tracking its correlation with equities quite closely, and also tracking the data. So looking at the flows is going to be a really important way for us to work out whether some of the bearish headwinds could potentially flip into bullish tailwinds for Bitcoin. And obviously that's the OG whales selling. We want to see them starting to buy again. Obviously that is the ETFs as well. As you can see in front of you, there's been heavy outflows. Do retail get interested in bidding Bitcoin as a value buy? We've started to see a little bit of that with a few positive inflow days, but we want to see this strung together for longer to start to develop that thesis. And then, of course, there are the DATs, which we want to see either starting to buy again or start to perform a bit better on the stock market so their NAVs can reach parity with their underlying assets, because that ultimately was one of the reasons why Bitcoin also retraced alongside some of the heavy whale selling, and then obviously the October 10th liquidation event. So that is what I'm seeing on Bitcoin. That's a quick market update. But heading into the month of December, there are, in my opinion, even more interesting plays than Bitcoin. So obviously we're going to track Bitcoin and the trend here in order to verify entries on alts. So a lot of my altcoin trading is done with Bitcoin in mind because it's the macro asset, because it leads crypto. We have to respect it, especially in an environment like this. But there are some interesting setups which I want to pay attention to. One of which is ETH BTC. Starting to look pretty good in my opinion. We have seen a pretty strong reaction to this support level here. Potentially we could get a breakout here. So I am preempting this a little bit. This is a video preparing you for December, so this hasn't fully happened yet, but this could be the early signs of an Ethereum BTC breakout. Of course, if it breaks down, you can look to invalidate this thesis, but I just wanted to put it on your radar. I also saw this tweet from High Stakes Capital, who's an analyst that I respect on X, and he says that ETH supply on exchanges is falling. This is actually true. I got the data on Crypto Quant. Reserves keep going lower and lower and lower. So if there was a big buy event or a big catalyst, it could potentially cause a supply shock. But of course, you still have to ask yourself, where is that catalyst? Where is that buy pressure going to come from? So it doesn't guarantee price is going to go up, of course. He also says TPS all-time high while gas fees stay cheap. I think this is a good thing for users. Importantly, we have Ethereum's Fosaka upgrade next week as a potential short-term catalyst. And he says that the play is Bitmine, BMNR. And I actually think this is an interesting play because if you don't know what Bitmine is, it's basically Tom Lee's Ethereum DAT. It's the biggest DAT. It's essentially like Bitcoin's MicroStrategy, but for Ethereum. We are starting to see the signs of a key flip. So it's been underperforming. It's been in a downtrend, potentially putting in signs of a bottom here and a key reversal. Obviously, it still is very early days, so I'm putting it on your radar early ahead of December. But because it's so reflexive to the downside, it's also reflexive to the upside. So it dropped 76%, Ethereum dropped 40%, and looking at the potential upside from this level back to high, it's 300%. So just like MicroStrategy, it's operating on a higher risk beta to the underlying asset. So MicroStrategy pumps more than Bitcoin when Bitcoin goes up, but it dumps more when Bitcoin goes down. And it's the same with Bitmine. So look, obviously not financial advice. I'm not suggesting you ape into the stock, but just keep your eye on it, because if Ethereum does make a comeback and if the ETH BTC ratio continues to improve, then it could be a higher risk beta way for you to get exposure. Going on to some of the other betas, I think the only one I want to mention today is Athena. It's interesting from a technical perspective, firstly, because it has started to form a pretty solid range low base across the 3-day and weekly time frame here. There's been multiple reactions to this level in the past, and it's still holding up from this zone. I actually did take a small position in ENA yesterday. I did a post in my Discord. I did see that there were some whales starting to accumulate. We don't know exactly who is accumulating. It could be the Athena Foundation just buying back their own token, but if you go into Arkham, there are some heavy buyers starting to step in. The most notable buyer that has stepped in is actually Arthur Hayes, who is already buying back the Athena tokens that he previously sold. So he sold $1.38 million worth of Athena, and he's bought back $245K so far and continues to buy. This comes just after he started accumulating PENDLE as well. So I'm not just saying copy trade Arthur Hayes. He's not the greatest trader in the world, but he has been spot on in the past with his Athena buys. So I think it's just another bit of evidence to pay attention to. So Athena as a beta, if you think the ETH BTC breakout is going to continue, or if you get confirmation of that, could be another play to look at alongside Bitmine. So those are the Ethereum plays that I'm looking at. Now I want to get into privacy, because there are some interesting trade setups here. But before we get into that, I just want to quickly remind you that the Mars High Club Black Friday sale only has 24 hours left. So if you aren't already aware, we're doing the biggest sale that we've ever done. It's going to be half price. You can get the chance to join the group for $99 for your first month. Or if you select the annual plan, you will automatically get an additional 3 months added onto your subscription alongside a 23% discount. So that takes the yearly discount to 45%. So these are the biggest discounts that we've ever given out for the Mars High Club. This is the group where I post all of my trade setups first. We have the 5 analysts, so me, Paradise, Fabian, Dog Surfer, Lawrence, actually 6 analysts now because we keep adding new people. We have our exclusive indicators like the money noodle that you regularly see me use in my charting on the show, and much, much more. Come join the group. We've built the best community in crypto, and this is the cheapest that you're ever going to get it. And there's only 24 hours left until the discount is going to get smaller. So link in the description below if you want to check it out and be a part of the community. Something cool as well that you may not know, and if you're a member, you should definitely take advantage of this. If you're a member, you also have the ability to spin the lucky wheel. So you can click spin. I'm going to do it live right now. And you can do this every single day until the end of Black Friday. So through till Cyber Monday. I didn't win a prize, but there's some pretty cool prizes here. AirPod Maxes, PS5 console. You can win a Chipotle gift card, Uber Eats gift card, $100 cash prize, $200 cash prize, and a bunch of other stuff as well. Free subscription. So if you are a member, go onto your WAP app or website and you can spin every day. Why not? We're going to be doing that until Cyber Monday. So going back to the privacy narrative, this is the next one that I'm looking at in December. We had a recent catalyst for Zcash, which is the fact that they're getting a trust, which is basically going to accumulate Zcash. So similar to some of the recent products that we've seen for obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, etc. I do want to chart the token quickly because this is an interesting one. Now, I just want to state quickly from a long-term perspective, I'm a holder and I'm bullish. But from a short-term perspective, there are two interesting setups which can lead you to build your long-term position if that is your objective. Now, firstly, I think we have to accept that the point of control is a very key level that we've come into at the moment at $500. Now, we are showing signs of exhaustion because we are starting to make lower highs and the bounces are getting smaller and smaller and smaller for Zcash. So obviously we had big bounces in the beginning, then a smaller bounce, then a smaller bounce, then a smaller bounce. And we haven't seen a strong reaction to the $500 level, which is the key level for Zcash. So either we see a reaction pretty soon and we start pivoting off this zone, and on the lower time frames, if you start to see that, there could be a short-term trading opportunity. Or, and this is probably what I think happens, but I'm open to being invalidated on that, we come back down and we sweep range low, which is 426. So potentially something like this where we come back down, we sweep the monthly open, or maybe we even deviate down to the monthly low, which is this level here. We take out liquidity there and then we resume to the upside. I think from a narrative point of view, it's still going to be a big narrative, especially with the ETF launching, and privacy is not going away, in my opinion. But you do have to accept that the price is starting to look a little exhausted and that could open up buying opportunities. So you also have the daily money noodle. So if we did sweep into the monthly open, that would be taking out liquidity in the bottom of that zone as well. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, it was in a strong uptrend. I was playing the 12-hour noodle. It started to lose that now. So the noodle, it was grinding up against the entire way up. It's now started to lose. We're having a bearish retest. So in my opinion, could lead to a sweep unless we start to make a move pretty quickly at the POC on the 4-hour. And if we did start breaking and holding below like this level here, obviously I'm a buyer first, but that's when I would start to invalidate some of my other position as well. So it's one to watch because it's a token with a lot of mind share. It had a lot of momentum, and I think it'll have a lot of momentum again at some point, but there are trading opportunities here right now. I'll keep you updated in the Discord when I do open a trade on Zcash. Going down the risk curve a little bit, there isn't too much in the privacy sector that I really love. I think Monero is interesting, but I'm not a big fan. One that I have been tracking and charting is Humanity. This is quite interesting because it was in a downtrend. It's starting to break out and it's also retesting the noodle. So this was basically capping price on the entire way down. You can see it kept rejecting. We have had a flip now, so potentially could be a trading opportunity here if you want to work down the time frames. The other level, if that level doesn't cause a big reaction that I'd be interested in looking at for adding longer term spot is here on the higher time frames at 10 cents. 10 cents is a big psychological level. It's a level that's been tested multiple times, and anyone that wants to buy spots, also the liquidation lows here, I think this is the zone to potentially look at doing so. If you don't know what Humanity is, it's basically a WorldCoin competitor, but in my opinion, it's better because they don't actually store your data. They use ZK proofs in order to verify your biometrics, and they're rolling out all around the world. Obviously, we know we're heading into a future with AI and UBI that could require people to authenticate their humanity. I mean, if you've seen all the deepfakes stuff recently, it's getting kind of crazy. You can pretty much fake any image now with the new image generation tools, and it's only going to get worse. So I think the narrative here is definitely good. It's just about getting the right entry, but because it's a narrative and a token with big backing, it should see periods where it really outperforms. Also got that Binance listing as well. So there are trading opportunities. So it's on my watch list under the privacy sector. And for privacy, that's it. Let's move on now to the next sector that I'm watching in December, and that is ICOs. I think this is something you really have to be paying attention to because the airdrop meta has kind of waned a little bit. Yes, I still think there are opportunities to farm airdrops, but I think the real meta in the market is trying to get into ICOs. And even if you can't get in, trading ICOs because they're tokens with so much mind share because there are so many participants. But especially with some of the big launches that are coming, this is an area that you need to be paying attention to and doing everything that you can to try and get exposure to these opportunities. Later in the video, I'm going to show you the tracker that I actually use to track these opportunities so I don't miss anything. But the most recent ICO, which was really popular, was Monad. They actually refused the Binance listing, likely that they probably didn't want to pay the listing fee. They launched on Coinbase instead and still had a really, really positive launch. You can see price ran up quite aggressively. This was pre-market, so ignore that stuff. From the launch, ran up really aggressively and went to the $5 billion FDV mark. It's now sitting over $4 billion. Now, this is a launch, to be honest, that at some point I would probably short. The only reason is, and I know shorting new tokens is very risky, especially low float tokens. So, you never know. I would need to see the trend establishing and go off the trend. But the reason I'm leaning short versus long is that a lot of these launches, they tend to launch really high. They have a lot of hype in their early days, but unless they have significant traction and a significant community, they often do end up bleeding. That's what we've seen pretty much across the board. So for me, a high FDV launch like this, I'm more interested in the short opportunity than the long opportunity, especially as that supply starts to hit the market. But of course, you always have to be wary with these new tokens. So I probably wouldn't short now. I would probably wait for a sweep of the weekly high and see what the reaction is in that zone. Potentially we come up and make a lower high as well. It could also push up to $6 billion, if it breaks above this level, and then I'll look for the right setup when the time comes. So it's all going to be based on the technicals and momentum. It's been a strong launch, but I'm not a buyer of this launch, but it does highlight that the ICO meta is really, really strong. In the Discord, I actually posted a launch tracker. So if you become a part of the community, if you're already a part of the community, you already have access to this in the Notion. And this is basically a list of all the ICOs that are coming up. And this is a system that you can use to track your ICOs. So you can copy this yourself and you can have all of your ICOs underneath each category. So you can have all of your Launchpads, so Legion, MetaDAO, Cookie, these are the platforms that allow you to take ICOs. Then you can have your launch calendar for each platform and you can give a platform tag here. And then you can add up your scores and your progress across these platforms. And then every time you get accepted into an allocation, you can build your portfolio on Notion. This is just an easy way for you to track everything in one place that I've built. I think right now the hottest ones are obviously Echo, so Sona. Also Legion is very big as well. And obviously Kaito and Cookie allow you to build up a social presence and get access to ICOs that way. Now, I probably shouldn't be saying this on the show, but I'm going to leak a little bit of alpha. We are working on something in the Mars High Club very, very soon to give you access to some of these exclusive ICOs that you otherwise couldn't get access for. And it's on one of the platforms that has some of the highest multiples out of any other platform. But I'm not going to say anything else because I probably shouldn't be saying anything yet. Adjacently to ICOs, the other thing that I'm looking into are the platforms that act as launchpads for new projects. So these are also places where you can find new opportunities. One that I think is going to be quite big is Soar. They give you access to early stage companies. So they're onboarding a lot of real companies, not just Web3 companies, companies in Web2 that are launching tokens as a means of distribution. What I recommend you do is you acquaint yourself with the website. So go on to launchonsoar.com, check them out on X as well, and go through their website and peruse some of the existing projects and upcoming projects. Because if you're on the pulse here and a big launch comes, you can actually get opportunities to get in at very cheap levels. So this is definitely something that you should be doing. And this is something that you can also add to your Notion to make sure that you don't miss anything. You can see they have a curated feed where they put their strongest projects here, and you can trade them here and you can get access to them here before anyone else. And I do just generally like the concept of Web2 projects coming into Web3 because it can bring real revenue models and real business models into an industry otherwise full of a lot of scams. And I think that's really important for the industry. And as users, we're looking at getting into revenue generating protocols as well. So on Soar, you can actually go across the top of their website and filter by category. So AI, drone technology, energy, gaming, robotics. This is still in its very early stages. It just launched. So we've only seen the first couple of launches, but this could be full of launches in a few weeks' time. So if you get involved in the ecosystem, follow them on X, go onto their website, you can get in early and spot opportunities early. And if you were doing that on Kaito in the early days, you would have gotten access to some amazing launches from being one of the first yappers. So I think it could be a similar opportunity, especially as some of the other launchpads in the market are starting to wane. For example, you could see Ben Pasternak here is starting a new AI startup called Agentic Labs. So doesn't seem like he's fully focused on Believe. I think this gives competitors an opportunity to swoop in and eat his lunch, frankly, and Saw is one of them. By the way, I did a video. I think I was one of the first people to do a video on ICM and the Believe narrative in the early days. Launchcoin was actually one of my best trades of the year. So as a concept, I'm very bullish on ICM. I just don't think Ben has executed things in the right way. I think if you're in that community, you would know that, they were talking about a flywheel and it never came, and it's just a bit messy, but the idea is great in my opinion, and serious players are going to step in and actually make it work, and that is, I think, one of the next big ways for crypto. So in the month of December, pay attention to ICOs, pay attention to Launchpads, because that's where the big opportunity is, especially as so many people are going to be giving up, so many people are leaving the space, so many people are quitting. I'm going to keep bringing you these opportunities, and that's what I'm really focused on, while other people are frankly giving up, and that's not how you win in the space. Over the long term, you've got to stay here, keep looking for opportunities, and eventually you're going to find a diamond in the rough, which can make all the difference in your portfolio. And we've seen that time and time again. Even this year, there's been a few very specific days, like my Launchcoin trade, my ASTER trade. I missed it earlier in the year, but the Trump trade, there's been a few really key defining moments of the year which have moved the needle for people. And these are actually the periods where you can spot that stuff when the market isn't super, super hot. The last narrative that I think you should pay attention to in December, and this is a bit longer term, but being positioned here and being aware of what's going on here ahead of 2026, I think is really, really important. And that's, of course, the Perp Dex narrative. I did a video yesterday explaining why it's one of the narratives I'm most bullish on, and frankly, one of the narratives that can bring retail or normies or non-crypto people into the space. So if you're interested in my full thesis there and all the data behind it, go and watch yesterday's video. But the TLDR is that I'm looking into and I'm actively charting the top plays: Apex, Hyperliquid, ASTER. I'm looking at the lighter launch when it launches. I think Gravity has great technology as well. So I'm tracking all of these, and there are airdrop farming opportunities across some of these as well. I think you're probably too late with lighter. I know Fabian, got in much earlier in the year. I'm not farming that anymore. ASTER, I don't think the edge there is huge, but Gravity, I think there could be a bigger opportunity coming up. Also some of these others as well. So keep an eye on it. This is a space where you should constantly keep tracking. The revenue keeps going up, and this, in my opinion, will only be a trend up and to the right as more people, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, start trading equities using Perp markets on the blockchain, which is just way, way, way more efficient and cheaper and a better user experience than doing so on traditional rails. So it would be remiss of me not to mention Perp Dexes in today's video. So those are the sectors and some of the coins and trade setups I'm looking at for December. On Monday, I'm going to be doing a video where I give you my outline for the week. And tomorrow, I'll be on the channel with Fabian to discuss more of a macro outlook. Remember, you've only got 24 hours left to sign up for the Mars High Club. If you'd like to, use code Black Friday, link in the description below. The monthly, you'll be able to get your first month for $99, which is 50% off. Or if you commit to the yearly, then you will get 23% off plus 3 months extra. So that comes out to effectively a 45% discount, which over the long run, you'll actually be saving more money than doing the monthly plan. So go read our reviews. We have tons of positive reviews. We have a great community there. And yeah, if you want to be a part of it, I'll leave the link below. Have a nice rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.